What's up, everybody? And well, the result tonight, Arsenal 3, Chelsea 1. Really difficult for me at this point, so soon after the game, to decide whether it was us playing really well or if in fact it was just the Frank Lampard Chelsea that's got to be up there with the worst Chelsea sides I've ever seen. Reality is, it doesn't really matter. I'd love to know what you think. Did you think we played really well, or did you think that Chelsea were just that bad? But before we get to that and analysis of the game, I actually want to take us all the way back to December 26th, 2020. It was a period where it looked like Arteta wasn't going to make it. It was not as though everybody was ranting and raving to have him out. I think, we'd had this long protracted period of wanting Wenger to leave. Personally, I was never a Wenger out. I thought what he did for us meant that I just couldn't bring myself ever to be Wenger out. But I appreciate that change had to come. And in the end, it was good that he stepped down. I think Unai Emery is always going to be too much to ask him to, fill the boots of a man like Arsene Wenger. I think he did a decent job, but we were slipping away and we had problems in the team. And when Arteta came in, honestly, I was underwhelmed. Pretty much like I was when George Graham came in, and certainly how I was when Arsene Wenger came in. But by December 26th of 2020, it was kind of, I'll put it to you this way. My feeling at that time was, well, we've picked this guy now. We've got to give him 2 or 3 more years, but I don't think it's going to work out for him. I don't think he's got the man management skills. There were a cabal of German players that he wasn't getting on with. He had seemingly decided that Willian was going to play every game, whatever happened, and Martinelli couldn't get in the team, even if he came in and played well. In the run-up to the game on the 26th of December 2020, we'd played Spurs away and lost 2-0. We'd lost 1-0 at home to Burnley. Then we'd drawn 1-1 with Southampton. And a week before the 26th, on the 19th, we went away to Everton and we were hopeless. And that was probably the loudest clamour there was for Arteta to go. The Chelsea game was written off. Everybody knew there was no way we were going to win it. And he did something he hadn't been doing. He rang the changes. That game, we started with Saka, Martinelli and Smith Rowe up front. In fact, actually, really interestingly, tonight, the only 3 players that started tonight that were in the starting lineup there were Granit Xhaka, Saka and Martinelli. Holding and Tierney were on the pitch and then obviously they came on tonight. But that's how far we've come from a man who would stick to the same team. We played a back 3 back then and he changed it. And we suddenly started to take shape. And you can almost trace from 2020 to today the evolution of our club. And that's a key sign that Arteta, it took him perhaps a bit too long to work out that certain players weren't working. But once he realised, he's been ruthless. Coming back to today, in the video I did yesterday, I said that Arteta would ring the changes. I had confidence that he would. I asked the question why Kiwior wasn't starting if he was £20 million from Spezia just to sit on our bench. Didn't seem to make any sense. Holding's played enough. Hasn't really worked with him. Thomas Partey, for me, I think, if you looked at his career with Arsenal, there's been some bright moments, definitely. Never going to forget the goal against Tottenham. But for the big matches, he's often been missing. And recently, he's gone missing whilst in the big matches. So, for me, I just felt it was time to rest him in case he was mentally fatigued or fatigued generally. And we have Jorginho on the bench. Jorginho seemed like a logical person to bring in, and Arteta did it. And finally, not me particularly, but most people watching Arsenal have been saying, how can you not play Trossard? Leandro Trossard has goal contributions since he came in January that exceeds anybody's. And tonight, Arteta did those things. We looked, I think Kiwior, starting with Jakub Kiwior, I think he looked possibly our best defender. And when you think that Gabriel might have picked up an injury in this game, I know that Kiwior is left-sided typically, so it might have represented a bit of a risk to play him instead of a right-sided centre-back. But at least now he's been blooded, so that if he does have to play, because if it has to be Holding and Kiwior at the back when we go to Newcastle, and I'm really hoping it isn't, but at least we saw tonight that he is capable. The language barrier concerns me a little bit, but I think football's a pretty international language. Man on, how long does it take you to learn the necessary language? I think he looked really calm and assured today. I thought Zinchenko today, I think the substitution Arteta made, another criticism of Arteta over the last few days is he hasn't made the substitutions early enough. You know, today, Zinny came off at about the right time. I think you'd have to point to him for the goal. His defending isn't the strongest part of his game, I'll say that for him. And Tierney definitely made us look a little bit tighter. When Thomas Partey came on as well, that was even more of a cement. And maybe it is just the fact that Thomas Partey is tired. But I think we know that 3 years from now, the team that we're looking at will have changes in the same kind of measure that we're seeing from 3 years ago. But I do think there's more of a core now. Thomas Partey, I don't think is going to survive. There's a lot of speculation this week about Granit Xhaka on the transfer list. What really thrilled me wasn't just that Xhaka played quite well. He was all over the pitch today, playing up front and getting forward. Chelsea allowed us all the space and time we needed. It was a training match at times. But it was great to see him up there. And Odegaard with a captain's performance. I just want to mention that. I think, he's had some criticisms as well, but I think he leads from the front, and I think that his 2 goals were absolutely what we needed and how we needed them. So thrilled with him. I thought if anything that maybe Saka was a little bit tired today as well, and I was surprised to see him stay on as long as he did, given that Reece Nelson's had some impact off the bench. Overall, I think what Arteta seems to be learning is where he really wants to go with this team and who he can rely on and who he can't. In the summer, it looks almost certain that we're going after midfielders. There is speculation again about forwards. I'm going to do a video about that in the next couple of days, looking at forwards we're linked with. It has been said that Gabby Jesus doesn't really want us to go for a forward, and we might be now switching our attention to a winger and a centre-back. And Fresneda as a right-back looks like he might come in. I'm getting sidetracked by transfers, so I don't want to do that. Talking about tonight, we're back on top of the league. People keep asking, Granit Xhaka was asked in his post-match interview, Arteta was asked in his post-match interview, do you still believe that you can win the title? Well, this is a really key thing here, is why wouldn't you? Is it mathematically possible? Yes. What can we do? Win all our games. That's what we can do. And we do have an incredibly difficult tie coming up at St James's Park. But before we play that, Manchester City will have played twice. So it might be that we're miles behind and trying to catch up with them. They are a world-class team, a truly world-class team. I think that if you'd said to me at the start of the season, if you'd said to anybody that Arsenal would be top with 4 games to go, I'd have bitten your hand off for it. Somebody left a really good comment on one of the videos, I think it was the one from yesterday, saying you have to look at it as a bottle because we were 8 points clear. We were so far. We'd spent so many days at number 1. And I just think it's a bit like being in 100 metres with Usain Bolt. You get off to a good start, and at the 50-metre mark, you're quite a distance ahead of him. But he's gaining on you. With 10 metres to go, he overtakes you. That's just how it is. It seems to me like people are missing the point. Should we have started really slowly? Should we have done really badly just so now we could be vying for the Champions League, maybe just croaking over the line and we just qualify and nobody calls us bottle jobs? Seems to me that the reason people are really calling us bottle jobs is because they're slightly envious. Certainly tonight, Chelsea fans would love to be in our position. So would Liverpool fans. So would Man United fans. Newcastle fans, well, they've got a really good chance to close in on us a little bit. Certainly to guarantee Champions League. It's going to be a hell of a match. I hope that Arteta continues in this vein and is not scared to drop players. The big thing we need to do for next season is augment our squad so that we can rest players. Because as much as you hear people say, they're earning millions of pounds a month. It doesn't matter what you're earning. If you're physically tired, you're not at your peak. Today, I feel like we got through this game. We got confidence back. The dressing room would have been buzzing, judging by the smiles on the faces of Odegaard and Xhaka when they were interviewed, and Arteta. It's looking positive. And the only other really quick thing I wanted to touch on before I let you all go is really quickly, the Ashburton Army and a protest today. Now, I think it's to do with the way games are ticketed, but I will be covering that. And I would love to know if you know any more about that. They have been a really big part of why the atmosphere at the Emirates has been great. And them not being there for the first 30 minutes was a really troubling sign to me. I hope it's nothing too serious. They are going to make an announcement tomorrow. I will cover that in detail. But if you know anything about it, do let me know. Arsenal 3, Chelsea 1. If you love the result, and if you've been watching to this point, by the way, then it would really help me out if you hit subscribe. It's a brand new channel. I'm on 104 subscribers. It's a long way to go to 1,000. If you're not going to come and watch the videos, don't bother subscribing. Don't subscribe. In fact, actually, I don't want any of you to subscribe. Much better do this. Get yourself a biro, write it on a wall somewhere. Check out the Gooner every single day. I post every single day. Until then, be lucky. Lots of love.